We did it. So, yeah, this one's going to be the Maiden Voyage here. Uh, Decided to start live streaming some stuff. Um, I've got a couple of little notes here just to get me through the first go. Well, let's take a look at our current state of I'm calling it the caliper cam. Shortcuts up. So, for example, today I need to design something, and I'm going to use Onshape to do it. Let me know if you want to see dark mode or not on this guy. It's pretty bright, so but essentially I've got another this design at least ready to go. I had to actually reinstall OBS and build it from source in order to be able to actually get the camera to work because I couldn't use a browser uh, add-on or browser source native in Arch Linux with the basic OBS Studio. So that was kind of fun. So while that was all compiling, I just like at least designed just made a quick 3D model of the camera or the phone that I'm using as a camera and the L bracket. And I've got them more or less positioned where I think everything's gonna frame in just fine. So I'm gonna just like go through how I do that. One thing too is this wasn't the first idea I had for a stream. I actually had like other things. So for example, I've got who makes them? D Drum, I think. I think Gibraltar also makes some of them. Memory locks, what they're called. So basically, they're just like, oh no, that's not exactly what they are. I don't know what they're. There we go. Here's an idea. So you've got these like spring-loaded tabs that you can press in on the side, and then they've got like thread that matches the thread of most cymbal stands. I guess like there's some vintage stands that don't really conform to that thread pattern, but for the most part, they're. I'd have to also research it too, which is part of the design too. So, but this is something that I think I could easily make in decent quantity, sell them at a pretty reasonable price, and then, but I just needed like prototype and test, and I figured that'd be useful to stream because this channel is essentially just to show people how to do stuff. And then I went and got a full-time job. So for the last while, I've been working for, I guess it'll be 4 years if I lasted till August. I was working for 45 Drives as an R&D engineer, but that meant I designed servers, so like sheet metal, stuff like that. There's 3D printed parts that go in those servers. I'd also write a lot of the software to show you like all the disks in your system, and write command line tools as well, and wrote a bunch of software used in the production. So that's sort of like what I've been doing, which is why this YouTube channel died or disappeared for like a few years. Anyway, so I'm back. I figured I got a YouTube channel with like people who seem to dig what I was doing before, and so I'm gonna do that. So this was one idea that I had, because I'm mentioning this mostly just because I want the feedback to, what do you think? What do you want to see me design? This one I don't think would take too long. I'd probably do it in one stream. And the other thing I was looking at is, well, essentially an effects pedal board. So like guitar effects board. So you've got like pedal boards like this that are these big sheet metal things that, they're usually like extruded aluminum or something along those lines, and you see they'll have like Velcro that comes across, and then you want to like put some sort of power supply for your pedals and then power them off of that. 9 times out of 10, most pedals are using like a 9-volt supply. But I figured I could make something that, because as a guitar player, you get effects, but you don't want to like necessarily buy the board you want forever at the start. So I was thinking it'd be cool if you had something that could just like, you could bolt on another section of pedals. So like, for example, you could start off with one that's, I'd probably use a Boss pedal as a building block, but like, something that holds like 4 Boss pedals, and then it has like on either end, you can bolt in new like cross sections here, and then you can add another 4, or there might be a cross section that's designed in such a way that you get something for like, sometimes you'll have like a wah or volume pedal that is like longer than the other two. It doesn't necessarily like fit all that well with the other guys. So, sort of a modular pedal board system. So I figured that'd be pretty cool. And then something that just like bolts together, that'd be easy to take apart without too much hassle, and be, sturdy enough to stomp on it. So that's something that I think I can 3D print. And what's cool about 3D printing is typically where I'm coming at this, because not only because that's like this side business, but like there's a lot of cool things that you can do with that you just can't do in sheet metal. Like, for example, like they have Velcro strips along this. Like I could say print a bar that goes across like that, stick some Velcro to it. But you also have like Velcro wraps, which like, I got a piece here actually. Let's see, webcam full. So like, for example, I've got this, it's not adhesive, it's just a Velcro strip. You can actually just model in a channel for that to go inside the 3D printed part. So, you can imagine like on the underside of this bar here, sorry, I'm pointing on my other screen, like of this bar here, you might be able to have something to just tidy up your cables and keep things neat, but then not in a permanent fashion. Another thing too, I don't know how the sound is here too. So like, by all means, let me know if the sound's trash or whatever. But yeah, there's a need for like sound dampening panels. Let's say you have, in your jam space or something like that, or your recording studio, I don't know why all of these are related to recording or music in some way, because that's kind of my hobby. Uh, but yeah, the maybe you have like an old band T-shirt, like it's all ripped to shreds. You've been wearing it for like a decade, and it's time to retire it because like your wife is looking at you like, okay, you're still gonna keep wearing that, are you? Maybe you just want to like you'd have band posters or something in your in your jam space or whatever. Well, instead you could just repurpose like that T-shirt. It would be like a frame that you could put the T-shirt in to act as like a sound dampening uh, acoustic panel kind of thing. So just basically designing a frame that could snap in, not in a super permanent way or whatever, that was easily mounted to the wall. So you could 3D print a frame for that, and then just take a T-shirt as is and just stick it in, just center it about the frame as best you can, and then boom, now you've got like a Megadeth T-shirt poster that's a foot square or something like that. That's also doing like some sound dampening. So it's like decor slash practical. Like I actually have I made some of these out of like old towels with some like one by, and you know they take a lot of the echo out of this room. But I could probably improve things if I added some of those too. So those are some ideas I had for like future streams. So of those three, if you've got something, or I mean, if you got some better idea, go for it. My plan really is to just show you how I would go about designing that thing, and the purpose really is to like come up with something that I could sell either as a kit or I could sell the design files. I'll figure out something later where maybe I don't know, like I could do memberships or whatever, or uh, like just list my files for either for sale or just give like say supporters or something like that access to those in the future. Because really, like I left a job that was a stable paycheck, so I'm trying to like build another customer base for this side business, which mostly just has one customer for the most part. This is sort of like, hey, I can design stuff for you. You can buy stuff off me, or you can send me a tip, and then you can get all of the stream, design, source CAD or whatever for free later. Well, not for free, but you get what I mean. But yeah, so that's the idea. So really, what I'm trying to do here is, uh, in Onshape, I've made. So for those of you who are not familiar, Onshape is a browser-based CAD program, and I bought a license, so hopefully this is a worthwhile investment. But I mean, I do a lot of design work for my side hustle, so I kind of need it. But really, it's you ever used any CAD software? Maybe use like AutoCAD or Fusion 360, SolidWorks, etc. So the guys who used to work for SolidWorks, I guess, made Onshape. Now I'm running Arch Linux, so there's no native CAD programs that are made for Linux very often, other than maybe FreeCAD. But I've tried it. I'm not a super huge fan of it, but I applaud them for trying. Onshape's pretty sweet. You can use it in the browser. You can share documents. You don't have to worry about managing files. It's pretty sweet. You can do like Git based like versioning and branch off and have like release candidates and stuff like that. It's pretty sweet. So I used to use this a lot at my old job, which was funny because like the parent company, Protocase, all their engineers use SolidWorks natively. But because I'm doing a lot of Linux development too, I'm running like a Linux distro on my workstation. So this way, I'm not having to like fire up a VM, passing through like video cards and stuff like that, so that the CAD will work, or the CAD software will run cleanly. So yeah, so what I want to do here is make a mount for this like. I have that L bracket here on the wall, and then I've more or less positioned it where I think it's going to end up to get like a decent photo. But what I want to do is sort of make a cradle for this thing to sit in. And then I want it to have some way of attaching to, I'm probably going to use heat set inserts because it's a nice sturdy connection and you can take it apart. It makes designing it pretty simple, and I've got a bunch of them. So I'll probably end up doing that, and then just have something that comes onto this. So I may incorporate some of the holes just as a way to keep it from moving back and forth. But I was thinking of something that sort of just fits around this area entirely, and then sort of slides on, and then I'll leave myself enough clearance just to be able to like line up a couple of these holes, and then from there it would just come off to the side, and then bolt, and then have a bolt pattern that would match where this cradle's bolt pattern is. So I got a few printers that I'm not running right now, so that they're on standby, because I plan to also like slice this when I'm ready to go. So I guess we'll get started. So first thing I want to do is I want to come up with the cradle for this. One way, so I'm thinking of something that I don't want the buttons to ever mesh with the sides. So I've modeled the buttons where they are on the phone that I have. And also I want it to continuously be plugged in. So I've sort of modeled like the area that I need to, that is occupied by the charging cable here, so that I have a notch out for that. And I also, in case I wanted to like, I need to be able to like see where everything's gonna fit in order to make sure that the camera lens isn't obscured, and potentially the light source as well for the camera if I end up using it like that. So basically, yeah, it's sort of and it's just, it doesn't need to bolt in, like be super secure. It just needs to be able to lay in it, because it's going to be, I want it to be horizontal, or sorry, I want it to be planar. Sorry, what is the, I want it to be planar with, or normal to the surface of the desk. So basically that's what I'm going to work on. So I'm going to put that together first, and then figure out what I want to do for bolt patterns or whatever. And then after that, I will end up designing the thing that goes on this bracket. So let's see here. I want to take, I think I'm going to start by doing a sketch on this surface. So this is called a part studio. I could also make this as an assembly and then change the contexts based on that. I don't think that the phone mount's going to change much, but if I find that I don't like where it's positioned or something, it's pretty straightforward to be able to redesign this part and just print that again, and then but not change how this how it bolts to this. So that's what I'm thinking here. So basically, I made this a flat surface. In reality, it's got a bit of curvature to it, but it's good to have a nice flat surface for what I'm about to do anyway. So I'm going to sketch on this. So if CAD is very new to you, I'm usually pretty good at explaining things as if I've never done them before, because that's kind of how I always figure stuff out over and over. So hopefully I can teach you a thing or two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with, well, yeah, I guess I could start off with a rectangle and then just like model it later. So more or less, like, I just want to have something that this can sit in. In general, I like for something to, and I'm 3D printing this thing, so for something to fit really well, I usually want at least like 1/10 of an inch. I'm going to use inches a lot because I've been using inches for like 3 years now. I used to be like strictly metric, and now here, look who I am now. Maybe I hate what I've become, but we'll see. So let me see. We've got to make a gap around this. So what I can do is I can just dimension this. So what's nice is in Onshape, you just instantly can project from a certain line. So I just clicked on that line, clicked on this line, and now I'm just going to dimension this. I think I want 0.15 inches is probably good because I also need to keep a tolerance gap. So if you make this just touching everything, it's just going to interfere. And you know, maybe that's what you would want for like a phone case if you want it to snap over. But I don't want this thing to snap in place. I just want it to be like a nice tray for it to lay in flat. So that's what I'm going to be doing with that. So then, yeah, so basically I'm going to, and what I can do is also make this a variable. So, and then if I want to change that later, I can just modify the value of that variable. And if it's something that I'm going to keep reusing. So we're going to say phone cradle wall thickness. Wall offset, let's call it. Because it's not the thickness of the wall, because that's dependent on the tolerance. But yeah, so we'll set it to that. So now, you know, if ever I want to change how this is, how thick that is, I can make it thicker, thinner, and everything will just update anything that makes a reference to that phone cradle wall offset variable. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to continue on here. So just let's dimension this. And then I'm going to set it to that variable as well. And then same thing with this guy. And so I'm hitting the D key. That's a shortcut I use. Also, if you're good with Onshape, or better than me at Onshape, which I'm sure plenty of you would be. Yeah, if there's shortcuts I'm not using and it's driving you nuts, please tell me what they are, so that I end up getting that as a force. So yeah, we'll make phone cradle wall. Okay, cool. So we've got that, and then so that's more or less like where I'm looking for walls. I'll tidy this up later, and then I want to add sort of keep away regions for this thing. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the offset tool. So the offset tool in Onshape just will, I can click any line and then set a specific offset from it. So I'm actually going to go around the exterior of this phone. Don't worry, I'll get to those buttons later. Okay. So, and I measured this pretty accurately in terms of, you know, I used calipers and made double sure, made a few extra measurements. This is sort of a weird object to measure because there's so many round surfaces, and you know, things are injection molded, so there's not really a flat surface to go up against. It's not like your machine, it's a machined thing. So all the walls would be drafted in order for it to come out of the injection mold. But in general, I've made it as accurate as I can, so that I know that I need to have that gap, but I'm not gonna like run into interference. I just don't like wasting time printing stuff. So if I can, I'll do that. So that's cool. We'll go with that, and then so I'm gonna make this a new variable though, just in case. And then we're gonna call this phone wall tall gap. So a tolerance gap for that. So, and remember, I'm 3D printing this too. So on interior features on a 3D print. So let me show you an example of this. So, yeah. By the way, this guy's YouTube channel, killer. What is it? Slant 3D. Just subscribe to him. He's pretty sick. But yeah, so essentially, like we've got, let's say we've got this. Damn it. So we've got like something like this with a hole in it. Let's imagine that the print bed was here and that it's printed like with this side touching the bed. You're gonna end up usually with this hole diameter is going to be a little bit smaller than what you've actually modeled it as. You can fine tune your extrusion on your machines and things like that too to help compensate for that. But if you can kind of design so it doesn't matter whose machine it's running on and it's going to work, that's sort of really what you want to be doing. So in general, you want to have a tolerance gap, but like there's also plus or minus whatever that is physically going to be coming out as well, right? So because it's not perfect. So what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to have something that goes around this phone, I don't want it to be like, I want it to be like sort of positioned properly because I want cutouts for the lens and around the buttons and stuff. Of course, I'm getting a phone call. I don't know who that is. I'm not going to answer. So yeah, so the phone, so the gap between the phone and this, I don't want, because imagine if I make it too big and I make cutouts for this huge, just so that if it sloshes around in here, it's still not going to be like pressing down on the buttons when you drop it in. So in general, I think I'm okay with something like that. 50 thou. So that's like probably going to be more than adequate for that in terms of 3D printing. So if that was exact, then I could go with that. I might just actually make it. I might make it slightly. Might give it like a thou. Be safe, but for now I'll just leave it like this. And then I can make the. I want to basically make a rectangular cutout around these button features. So I took the time to model the buttons in. So I'm gonna make a little cutout around those and around this as well. And then in terms of, well, it's sort of tricky to see, but this thing does get warm. There's like speakers and stuff on the bottom. So right now this is plugged in and streaming live video. So the back is getting kind of warm. I'll be printing this in PETG. I don't think it's ever going to get warm enough to warp that. But something to think about. Like if this thing's at 40 Celsius and you print it in PLA, it's probably going to end up deforming it. But yeah, so put that back. Yeah, so I'm going to end up just taking a notch out of the back here. In fact, I'll probably just take the whole out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dimension this. I'm not going to use that variable though. So phone feature tolerance gap is essentially what I'm going to call this. I'm going to make this just a little bit wider. So 0. Let's do that. So feature tolerance gap is going to be applied to that. And I'm hitting the D key for dimension. And yeah, so I just want to make sure that the walls of this thing are far enough away from kosher. So I'm going to go to this filleted face here. Okay, so now we got our tolerance gaps around those. I'm going to do this one too. So this one's only a single button. The other one are like doubled up. I'm just going to keep that rather than put a little sliver of nothing in between the two buttons. I'm just going to put around the thing. Phone feature tolerance gap. So we got that. And then yeah, so okay, and then yeah, just to this a bit. Yeah, maybe I will just extend this out to the side. So you can imagine it's just got a cradle with all these notches taken out of it so that phone actually sits in it. I'll take my other phone out just to show you. You're gonna have I'm going to have to switch over here in one sec. Yeah, so that's gonna come out to the side here. Sorry. So this, I can click this line and this, and then I press I, make them coincident. So that's pretty good. Liking what I'm seeing there. I suppose I could sketch a fillet into this, but I think I want it to be more of like a chamfered look. Like I don't want it to be all rounded, because I expect this to be like kind of chonky, and I like chamfers because if you use a chamfer in 3D printing, in general, it doesn't matter what your print orientation is going to be. If you like rounding off your corners and stuff like that, or if you just want your corners to not be, tight corners, having a little bit of chamfer everywhere is I personally like the aesthetic of it, but it makes it a lot more easy to print in different orientations, because in general, chamfers at 45 are printable, no matter what the print orientation is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna extrude this. So an extrude is basically so there's a shape, right? So all that sketch that I did was in 2D. And so what I'm doing here is I'm gonna take out the sections that I don't want there to be plastic. So we're looking at something like this. So you see it's gonna extrude and then kind of get this preview. You got part 3, 4, 5. It just increments the part number as it makes new parts. Because I'm going to be joining these together later at the bottom. But for now, they're going to be separate parts, and then I can merge them together when I do the next step. But yeah, so, and then we get to pick the depth at which we want to extrude these parts down. So essentially, we're going to go up to this face, which is flat. So it'll go there, but I also want to do an offset distance. So I can choose what I want, because if I make it right to the bottom, it won't be flush with the bottom. I don't know how important that really is, but in general, like if I've got tolerance gaps everywhere else, I might as well just make that same one. So we'll call this phone wall tolerance gap. Yeah, something like that. Actually, wait, I need to think about the thickness of the bottom of this part. So I'm going to, you know what? I'm just going to add. And this one I can just put whatever I want. 0.15 inches. Usually pretty good. But like if you can imagine, like, because this is going to be non-zero thickness, because I don't want it to be like a little thin sheet anyway, right? So that's probably okay to do there. So let's go with that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just make that a variable. So why not? Actually, I can just use phone wall thickness. That's probably what I'd want for the bottom anyway. So let's go with phone cradle wall offset, which is what I went with anyway. But yeah, so that way I can change it if I want it to be a little chunkier. Because this sort of has to be a little bit rigid. In terms of the weight distribution of the phone itself, it's a bit top heavy. So, and what I mean by top is the camera side is a bit heavier than this side here. So, and based on where I need it to be, because the wall stud is here and where my desk is like pretty much set in stone. So, that means there's going to be, if there's more weight on this side, well, you're going to have a torque applied to this thing. So it's going to want to kind of sort of fall down this way and bend down. And then because I am going to be ultimately like mounting it to this, there's never going to be so much, like it's not like so out of whack that it's going to matter that much. But if I have a wall thickness like this, that's way more than adequate to handle any of those forces. Because like if you had something a little heavier, you might want to think about making this a little thicker, just to make sure that it's not going to be tilting too far to one side, depending on like where this thing is mounted. Anyway, I'm going into crazy detail here, but I mean, I figure that's helpful. Like if I'm looking to understand something, that's usually what I'm looking for, is someone to get into details. So yeah, so now what we'll do is we can make, well, the bottom section of this guy. So I'm going to sketch on this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's a use project convert tool. So I've got this guy here, and then I can project this here. Now what I'll probably end up doing in the grand scheme of things is making this sort of like come over here, leave myself a gap, because this thing is non-zero thickness and I don't want any of the thickness of the base of this thing to ever show up on camera. So I'll probably make the cutout a little bit wider than this, and probably just make it like a rectangle. So there's no point in having, you know, this gap in here filled, but sort of just using that as a reference to where everything's going to be. So I can just take this guy here, and I can also project that. So, okay, so I should be using U. So it's good to scrutinize your normal workflow. The reason I don't use U is because I have to take my hand off the mouse. So that's probably why. Whereas like D, no problem. My hand's already there. It's on the home row already. So maybe that's why I'm not in the habit of using U, but there's U. So yeah, I've got those lines drawn there. And then, so I think I'm going to go, I'll just go straight across this. Yeah, because this is all on the side, and when I look at it, no part of that charger is going below the phone. So like I modeled this exactly how it is. So if this was like could protrude past the bottom of the phone, then I might want to worry about a gap here, but I'm not going to have to worry about that. So I'm not gonna. And then You go here. And again, those buttons don't clear past that, so I'm safe to just put this like this. And then, so what I think I want to do is, yeah, I think I'll take a, so we're just going to take a rectangle around this. I think this doesn't have to look good, it just has to work, so I don't have to worry too much about, oh, it'd be kind of cool if it like did a swoop around this and then, you know, into here, like onto this side or something. I don't know, it doesn't need to be perfect. And if the more I can make this like a solid thing, it's less movements on the first layer, which I always print slower anyway, so it'll take less time to print in the long run. So let's make this, yeah, that's probably fine. I don't need to turn that into a variable. That's going to be more than enough no matter what. So then I think I'm going to take, I'll just sketch a fillet here. Since these are filleted, I just need to have that be filleted. Will make it the same, or the clearance gap there. So this is a giant cutout, but because I have some, and I have a variable amount of thickness, I want to make sure it's nice and far away from that, so it's never obscuring any of the phone. So I got something like that. That works for me. One other thing too is that I've noticed is I should have made these projected lines. It's a lot more clicks now than it would save me later when I go to extrude this, but like, I can make them construction lines, so it won't try to like worry about these faces in here when I extrude things. So I think that's pretty good there. And yeah, I'm gonna extrude that up to that face. So extrude. Okay, and I'm gonna merge with all. Oh no, not merge with all. I want to merge with this, this, and this. What that's going to do is make that all one solid body. So now it's called part 3 here, temporary name. So that's all fine and dandy. And I think what I'll do, yeah, I'll do that for now. I think I do want to notch around those features. Yeah, just like something a little more gradual. But I can do that on this next step. So what I'm thinking of doing here is just sort of, actually, I can use this to show you another feature. So I can do, I think it's move face. Yeah, move face. So now you can do an offset. Offset's fine because then I can do multiple faces at once. And it's just going to take that face and sort of like bring it all inward, which is nice. The nice thing about offset. And I don't want that much of an offset. That's probably fine there. like that. Actually, might as well make it the wall thickness. Or, yeah, wall thickness. Wall. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to bring that in, and then I am actually going to fillet these, because I don't like sharp corners on my first layers if I can avoid it. Because they have a tendency to want to, like, peel up. Because really, there's no such thing as a sharp corner in 3D printing, because it has to move. It has to change direction. It can't do that on a dime. So you end up getting like the corner starting to kind of pull up off the bed. Oh, okay. Sure. Add block ultimate updated. Yeah, so we'll do that. So that's so far so good. And then really the rest is just like, you know, clean it up and make it pretty. I also need to add my heat set insert features and stuff, but let's doll this up a little bit first. So let me see. Yeah, all right. Let's just start by I'm gonna fillet this guy. You know what? I'm gonna turn these. So let's take this guy. I'm just gonna grab all the edges that I want to fillet. I know I'm printing it in this being the flat orientation. So I don't mind fillets in that sense, but usually I'll go for chamfers anywhere else, and I'll probably end up chamfering this just because I think it would look cooler. And then it's not like a sharp corner I get to like bang my hand off of or something like that. It is like mounted within head smashing distance, so might be good to soften those corners a little bit somehow. So yeah, let's fillet this guy. Might as well make it the yeah, that looks cool. Let's do that. Okay. And then yeah, so I want also like these corners to be gone. So I think, yeah, I'll fillet the bottoms, but I think I want to go with chamfers on corners here. That would look better. Again, it doesn't really matter how it looks, but take a few extra clicks and make it pretty. So something like that. I suppose I could. So the other thing you can do, I'm just pre-selecting these before I go to that feature, but you really don't need to do that. You can click the faces to chamfer them. In fact, I would want a different chamfer for these, so I'll make that chamfer a little bit smaller. So I'll do a bigger one on these chunky corners here. So let's do. I'm gonna do it with that wall offset, something like that. Okay, and then yeah, I'll do another chamfer. Well, so if for whatever reason I feel like pressing the buttons while they're in the cradle, having this little chamfer here make it a little access my big finger. And 0.1, let's make it about 2. Make it about half. There you go. Something like that. And yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, and the other reason I wanted this like cutout away is so that if I want, I can kind of like grab the phone. by like pulling it out straight because I'm more or less made this flush with this guy. But another thing is uh, thing that I like to use is let's see if we can get away with the chamfer everything. And it doesn't need to be huge. 0.0 that. So I'm taking away like the bangable corners, but I'm also putting a chamfer because something's being put in something else. It just helps it find its way into it. Do put a chamfer. I'm not super thrilled with these, but again, I'm not too concerned. Like with guys here, I'm not super concerned. All this is going to be bang apart. So I think that's good. Maybe I do that here too. Just cause that's really like not much of anything, but it's enough to make the bottoms something you smack. Sure, I'll do someday. Yeah, so let's go with that. So there, that's the phone mount. Actually, you know what? I might suppress these. So another thing, because what I didn't do yet was add in the heat set insert spots on this thing. So what I'm picturing is the thing bolts onto this arm is essentially going to like hold something that this is going to be secured to, and I want to be able to screw it in from the top. So I want to be able to drive screws into this. So what I want is sort of like little tabs that like jut out here that allow me to put a heat set insert in. So I'll just have like a hole there that's the right diameter, and then just have like that wall come out as a feature. But because I did these chamfers ahead of time, I need to kind of go back. So if you take this, you can see everything that you've done here. But what I can do is I can kind of like apply all that stuff after the fact. It may break, but we'll figure that out. Here's my doggy. It's 3:20, honey. So I don't have a Rosie cam yet, but at 4 o'clock she eats, and so around 3:20 she once 3 o'clock hits, she's like, "Hey, you gonna get on dinner anytime soon?" Because her biological clock is saying it's dinner time. If I get away with it early, I promise we'll be done this soon. I might just do the phone case for now. I can do the other thing off stream. Yeah. Oh, where are you at, Rosie? Yeah, you're not on camera yet. I'm not gonna move it just to show you. Get down. Come on. Wait. All right. So I'm just gonna add those features here first. So I'm going to sketch. I don't know. I'm going to sketch on this bottom one. So what I'm picturing, it might be best if I'm going to do a construction line here. Actually, so I guess I would have done it about this. But I might as well make it about the center. That can't hurt. So if this has to go over a little, that's fine too. So yeah, I think I'll make them centered about this guy. So let's go. Probably just do it center. So yeah, I don't need very much. In general, so there are some 632. So I'm in Canada. It's hard to get metric hardware here from the hardware store or anything like that. But if I order like standard size things, so size 6 screw, machine screw, 632 is very common. I'll probably end up using that. So I have 632 heat set inserts for those, for the ones that I most commonly use. And so McMaster So 632. Quarter inch. I think those are the ones. 32, 1/4 inch. You used to be able to click this and it would take you to the page, but if you right click it, it'll take you to yeah, this is the one I've been using. So like 0.218 inches is like what the outer is, and 0.19 is what this inner one is. So you stick a soldering iron or whatever in through this to this end, and then just like push it into the plastic, and these ones won't come out. Like the plastic will fail before these things come out, really. But yeah, so that's more or less what I'm looking to do. So I just need to make sure that I've got enough for the ones that I want to use in terms of thickness for them to go in, and I'm pretty sure we're more than adequate there. But the other thing too is I can more or less might as well just do this real quick. Do a little construction circle just so I can visualize where the head of the thing is. 0. Was it 218 inches, I think? Yeah. Okay. So we got this, and then I want so you usually want like at least 4 walls. So really I want, let's say I got 0.4 millimeter walls. Just do times 5. Okay, so that's where it needs to go, at least. So, but if I give it, I was gonna give it 0.1 anyway, just to make it easy. And then now the other thing is we've got 0.15 there. So this almost where it is so I could probably yeah, I'll give it a little bit of a gap here. It doesn't need to be all that much. 0. Something like that. That'll work. And then so the other thing I want is, now I still need to be able to get a screw into it, but that is going to have a pin head on the other feature, probably. Yeah. And then could go with the countersunk. That might actually look better. So let me see. 1/4 inch probably fine. So let's see, 632, 1/4 inch flat. Whoops. Gosh. Probably have a few of these just from my pockets, just building servers all day. Well, if I do have those around, they'd be 3rd degree. Sure. Yeah. Okay. 0.262 is where the head is. So yeah, so that will be fine, because I just need to make sure that in the part that it's going in on top, I sort of want that to be in line with this. So I want to make sure that like there's plenty of like clearance for the head or whatever. So I'll go with that, and I've got like 1/10 of an inch here. I'll make this one that. So yeah, we got something like that. That'll work. And then actually I'm this to that. I'm just drawing little line sections here so that I've got. I think I probably already have them to go for this extrude. I just like pre-selecting the things when I go to extrude. So I can change, like you can make this go, you know, the exact amount you want, but I just in general I've been using faces because it's well, it's what I need really. Okay, so we got something like that. Yeah, so let's go with that. And then I will probably want to strengthen this up, but let's bring our chamfers back in, see what happens. Oh, okay, didn't mind. So that's good. Though I will, yeah, so I'll take that one out, and then what I'll do is actually I can modify that chamfer. You know, no, not that one. Bring that. I don't want to chamfer that until this is chamfered. So I just want to chamfer it just so that it like widens as it goes toward the base, just to make it a little sturdier. So that one's getting pretty close to that button, so won't go crazy with it. What does that look like? Too much. So it doesn't like that because it breaks here because it's trying to go past where this would be. So I'm gonna have to sneak up to it. We'll go 0.125. The other option is turn that chamfer off. I can always redo it. So let's get this guy. And this for that 0.2. Chunk, isn't it? Okay, we'll just go with a small 0.0. So there's not nothing. I just want it to be thicker here. That's all, because I don't want it to. It's going to be printed in an orientation where this is going to be pretty strong to begin with anyway. And I'm going to also just do the same sort of thing there. Make it all cool looking. So that. Let's see what happens when we do this. Pretty good. I love that parametric modeling. It just figures it all out. All right, so I'm pretty pleased with how that looks. And so now the only thing to do next is to add the heatset insert hole. So I'm gonna just sketch on this guy. And then what I can do is I can also make this, that previous sketch visible. So I can use that as a projection, and then I think I'll turn that off. Oh well, no, still want that as construction. And then I'll take this guy and so in general, we know that the tip of that heatset insert is 0.19, right? If you 3D print that, it's going to be a little bit smaller than that. So if I do 0.2, it's going to be bang on. In terms of, you just want it just as wide as that tapered end. 0.19. So so I want it to be exactly 0.19 because then it's easier to like, then I can get the thing to at least interference fit. But you know, I can just jam it in with my thumb and then heat set insert it. Otherwise, you gotta like be really, because then the chamfer of that whole thing is doing the work for the aligning for you. So in general, that's what I'll do. At least with the material I'm used to printing on the printers I'm printing it. I know that that's probably gonna work. Right? So we've got that, and then so I have this feature, and I basically need to put it over here. And I know that this is in the middle of everything. So one of the things I can do, in fact, I can turn on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go. The front plane. So what I can do is I can, I'm done dimensioning. So what I can do is I can take this, and then I can just, while I'm in the sketch mode, I can just mirror that. And then the mirror line can also be a plane. So I can just mirror it about the front plane, and it'll put that same feature there. Now I can just extrude that, and then I'm doing a removal this way. And we knew that this was 1/4 of an inch long. So that's what a 1/4 inch would look like. But when you do the heat set inserts, you got to have a place for that plastic to go. So I'm going to go more than that. In general, I want to add about 1/10 of an inch with this insert because I've used it so much. So 0.35. I'll never regret doing that much because I'm not really weakening anything. I just like it would be aesthetically more pleasing to not have the through hole go the whole way. That's mainly why I'm doing it. So then we can remove that. That's gone. Okay, so that's cool. So yeah, I'm gonna end up probably just slicing this and calling this stream for now, and then I'll just do this off camera, and then I can show you later. But let's see. Well, let's go with. Let's take a look. We've got no one. So I'm going to go in this thing to phone cradle. And that sketch by the front. So I'm gonna just like export this for slicing in Bamboo Slicer, or Orca Slicer, I guess. I'm gonna print it on a Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon. So I'm going to right-click this guy, export, SCAM phone cradle. I'm just gonna export the STL file. I want to make sure that my units are millimeter, and with fine resolution is, yeah, that's fine. It's I'm doing a lot of chamfers, so tessellation's not going to be a problem with me. It's just a rounded. If you make that coarse or something like that, your circles turn out to be just approaching a bunch of gone, like an octagon, but with way more sides. An hexagon. So let's just, okay, so I might as well just actually go. Because this is related to this, so I'll say stream. Stream designs, and then we'll call this STLs. Just came. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get the guy installed. I got the app image for Orca Slicer yesterday. I made sure that I could at least do stuff. I typically don't slice on this computer, but yeah. gonna make a new project here. So I can select my printer. I also go to device, so that one's good. So all of them are loaded with the PETG I'm going to be using. So I've got an engineering plate here, which is what you typically would want to print PETG on. Either that or there's a PEI plate that they also have. But I use their liquid glue and put it on the plate there, and it always works. So I have very print failures due to like things peeling the layer off the first layer. So the filament I want is 3D Printing Canada makes the PETG that I'm using. So I have a profile here set for that. 0.2 is perfectly fine. It's for me, so I'm not bothered with. So let's go and web. Right, so we've got this. So that looks pretty good to me. Positioning there, so I'm going to, let me just double check this. So I don't want this standard. Hi, honey. Almost done. Like almost 20 minutes too early. Bed soon. Let's just see what that looks like. So this thing is not really like all that tricky. Okay, let me see what do I got for bed adhesion. Brim type is auto, so it's automatically applying a brim to this. It's fine. I've got no issues putting a brim, taking a brim off that. I'm just explaining my thought process here because when I go to slice something, it helps to know what you're doing. A lot of not knowing you're. So, and I mean, I'm guilty of that too. So we've got, yeah, I've got a chamfer on that whole thing. Okay, so it doesn't need to be that dirty. Honestly, I can just. Yeah, the app image in dark mode is kind of buggy because like the thing I'm clicked on appears. Infill. Okay, so 45 is totally overkill. I really like gyro. I'm not gonna be 45. Let's try 20. I've got 3 perimeters. 3 is plenty for that heat set insert, so I'm not. Yeah, 20 seems 20 is good. This PETG doesn't like printing. So on this layer here, the likelihood that you're gonna have a zit goes way up if you don't go like a higher infill, and you get away with this with PLA no problem. I could bump it down to like but with this PETG I like to at least get percent because I don't know, it tends to zit up and then you got this like raised mound once you start hitting this layer, and then it crashes into that mound, and then it crashes into that mound, so over and over, and then that ends up putting PETG, which loves to stick to its nozzle. If you got any PETG on your nozzle, it's going to want to stick to the nozzle, and then it's gonna end up stringing across your whole print. So I'm not super concerned with print quality on this because it's just for me, but yeah, it's one of those things you could think about. And yeah, so that looks fine to me. So what do we got for 1 hour and a half? Pretty good. So actually, there's one other thing here for quality. Oh, it's because I don't have anything. I was like, not. I'm like, why am I not used to seeing? I usually have every option on because then, like, why would I hide them? Because then it becomes like Cura. I guess. Um. Oh, first layer, top surface. Okay. First layer. Yeah, 40 is good. I had this printing like really slow the first time. I'm okay with that. Yeah, so let's just. I'm just gonna send which. So this one is MS1. This one's the AMS. Yeah, that's. I don't want a time. I need to give these nicknames. Yeah, this is. All right, so yeah, in an hour and a half, I'll have that. In the meantime, I'm gonna quit the stream, and we'll get the dog fed. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's probably pretty boring. Don't see any chat activity, so it's like that's cool too. But yeah, if you watch the replay later or something, just give me some feedback on really future designs. Doing all of this. Do you want background music or whatever? Like I've got a lot of random music that I've written too that I can always just like have in the background too. Some people do like that. Part like half the comments on like the actual video. Oh, like I thought so too. But by all means. Anyway, yeah. So thanks for watching. I'll at the start of the next stream I'll go over this because I would have had it mounted and working. So I have no doubt that this is going to work at the end. And then we can actually get into designing some cooler stuff, which like is a little more useful and not completely niche. But that's the power of 3D printing. I needed it; it didn't exist, and in an hour and a half, it's gonna exist. So, all right, thanks for watching. See you later.